Air signs, I have quite the download coming in for you over the next 72 hours. Of course, these are just themes that are starting to introduce themselves, but there's every indication that there will be something really coming to a culmination point with a Libra full moon that arrives on the scene on the 12th. This download has been coming in for me for a few days and it's real deep. It has so many threads of connection and there's so much to cover in this that it will likely be something that sort of filters into other downloads I'm bringing in because there's just so many points of connection here. So much to bring in, but I'm going to do my best to do this justice in the time we have to work with here. Of course, if you are a fire sign rising, this can apply to you too. And I do feel there is a strong message here for the collective as well. Regardless of whether or not you have any air placements, you still have those houses operating in your zodiac. So I hope you'll take something away from this download of value. I had an interesting experience over the weekend. I went on a walk on a day when it was supposed to storm really hard, actually. And the day did start like that. It started very overcast, and it seemed like the prognosis was going to prove correct, and it was going to be a day where I'd have to be hunkered down indoors and just avoid stepping out into the fresh air because the storms were predicted to be quite intense with a lot of lightning, a lot of, elements in play that you don't necessarily want to be caught out in a storm like that. I love going out and walking in a good storm like anyone, but I have to say that, sometimes it's not always the wisest thing to do. But the air cleared and suddenly there was like a break and the storm never came actually, and it ended up being just a beautiful halcyon kind of day where the sun was warm and there was a nice breeze, and I went out for a walk with Ted, and as we were walking I was really just taking in the beauty of the sky and noticing all the cloud formations because that message has been coming in recently about paying attention to what's blowing in the wind. And I saw suddenly this real interesting formation of light that was peering through the clouds. And it was a rune. It was Sawilu. And I was really kind of blown away when I saw that because recently the runes have been coming in for me when I'm out in nature. They come through and speak to me elementally, and it was just so clear as day. Sawilu was there in the clouds, and Sawilu looks like a lightning bolt. It's associated with the letter S, but it looks like a lightning bolt when it's drawn. And it's interesting because that's exactly what Sawilu represents. It represents a lightning bolt of inspiration that comes like a bolt out of the blue that carries with it extreme power. And what is the power that it brings? It brings the power to arrive at a place of victory when one has felt very oppressed or one has felt downtrodden, or if one has felt like they were in a position where they were really lacking, they didn't have resources, or some could even say impoverished. It comes as a sign that this is a point of transformation, and yet it also comes with a certain assignment that comes with that if you are truly to use the power and the energy of Sawilu, which is to confront what is a great challenge for the sake of spiritual growth. And on the way, we earn the route to victory. We find the navigational tools that we need to unlock our soul's purpose, to go on that journey of the hero's quest. But there's certain elements that are involved with Sawilu in order to activate that potential. It's said that traditionally, the best course of action is to invest your focus, your energy on the health, and developing an iron will that will succeed no matter opposition. So this is very important. We have to really look at Sawilo in terms of its requirement that we take action. You can't sit idle with Sawilo. In fact, inattention can be quite a tricky proposition if you are one who is not placing intention and attention on these things, tending to the health, taking action to strengthen oneself, taking action to cultivate a will of steel, an iron will. And ironically, this ties into the energy of Thor's hammer, which, yeah, you can have some power. You can have some power in your hands, which is harnessing the power of the sun. It is that fire elemental. It is the will to act, and to act in a transformational way that affects lasting change in one's life and the trajectory of their soul's path. But if you don't have the strength to hold it, you'll never be able to wield it. And even Thor needed those iron gauntlets. Okay, so this is about putting your focus on this. So already you know that there's something you need to obtain here. You need to obtain your iron gauntlets, but you also need to have your strength. You need to have your will activated, and you're going to need to be in a place of vibrancy and health in order to wield this power. Now, Sawilo is a room that is the sun. It is directly attached to the sun. So I love that it came through like that. It came through the cloud cover, and it was because of the sun that it was illuminated. And it does definitely have a flow to it that's similar to the waterway, which I find interesting. But you can consider it more of like a warm honey sort of waterway, I guess you could say. The honey flow, you could say, okay? And I'll get into that. There's a reason why I brought the flight of the bumblebee there on the little ticker tape. It's running on the bottom of this video. I got to lay this out for you though, because there's one point that connects to another. Okay, so yes, the flow of Sawilo, just the energy of Sawilo, the flow of it is very warm. It's very sensual. It's effortless, like waterfall medicine. You know, just giving oneself over to the flow, but also being able to just move with that in a very sensual way. And when I say sensual, don't mistake sensual necessarily for sexual, although that piece does come with it. There is this quality of the senses being heightened, the senses being engaged. And this is important too. So if you're spending too much time indoors, if you're spending too much time focusing on a screen, whether that's on your smartphone or it's looking at your laptop or even the TV screen, you're not really allowing your senses to be fully engaged. That is something that can actually numb you out on a sensual level. It's so necessary to really get out within the elements to experience the activation of hidden qualities, aspects, parts of oneself that are being brought into the light with this message from Sawilo. There's also a way that you can really harness sort of your soul's purpose and get your navigational coordinates on how to align with that if you tap into the energy of your Suna rune, which is related to the goddess Suna, who drives the sun in her chariot, her horse-drawn chariot, across the sky. Okay, and it's interesting when we look at that with Suna. There's another piece that comes in that I feel like I have to tap into right now before I get into your solar rune. Okay, she's driving that chariot across the sky, but she has to watch out because there are certain energies that are coming after her as she is driving that chariot across the sky. And the element that she needs to be aware of is that she is being chased down by a large wolf. And the wolf is trying to get to her to destroy her plans and to overcome her before she arrives at Ragnarok. Okay. So this is interesting. This wolf is very determined too. It's doing everything in its power to try to devour Suna and her son that she is driving across the sky before she reaches the fulfillment of her mission. And so you have to take this as a representation of sort of what's hunting you down too. Now I think of the wolf medicine, and it makes me think of a previous download that we had come in. Ironically, it's a download that came in with the full moon, and it was a collective download. So this definitely is a collective message. And that download was: a Merc rider arrives by dire wolf with news of battles lost. And I will put a card here for you at 11:29 on the clock. So double 11s there, okay? This is another point of initiation the collective is entering into. And what are we learning to do here? We are learning to fly, because that is what I put on the cover photo, on the thumbnail for that particular download. And there is a message that attaches to that, okay? And we'll get into that in a minute, but I want to go back to the Suna rune. I felt like I had to explain who Suna is in order for you to understand the empowerment of working with your solar rune in runic astrology. And I will post something for you to decipher what your solar rune is. And of course, if you are on the Alchemy Academy level or the Alchemy Lab level of members, you're already in touch with what your solar rune is. This is what you want to work with at this time. It will help give you that sort of focus, that drive, that iron will, and that vigor like Suna has to outrace that wolf hot on her tail to get to Ragnarok, to complete the mission. So this is what you're facing. You're facing a challenge. You do have something hot on your tail. It is hell-bent on devouring you before you ever arrive at your destination and reach the full potential of your soul's purpose at this time. But there's every indication, as long as you don't lose the plot right now, that you've already succeeded. You've already got everything you need. It's just really about staying focused at this time and really taking action. You cannot be idle with this energy, because then it can turn against you. With inattention, Sowilu becomes like Pandora's box, and it will be a lot more than you bargained for. So if you are somebody who has been sort of resting on your laurels, if you have not been taking action to actively involve yourself in the process of transforming your life, if you are not tending to your health, if you're putting things off to another day, you really need to be aware of getting busy, and get busy like the bees, okay? Get busy like the bees, because action is required for this in order for hidden parts within you, hidden magics, assets, talents you hold, that are meant to be brought to the forefront at this time because they secure your victory, will go to waste, all right? And one of these things that's coming in as a magical empowerment in association with Suilo is a magic shield. I'll go into that in just a moment. Okay, so this is action that is aligned with your purpose, all right? But it must also take into consideration an awareness of your environment, all right? Read the room. And when you align these two qualities, okay, the action that you need to take that's aligned with your purpose while also being very clear of your environment, being mindful of that, you invoke the creator within you. You invoke divinity, or that avatar within you becomes activated and starts to sort of take those reins of that chariot that will lead you to victory. Now, when I think of that wolf chasing down Suna, I think of the quality of the 12th house of Pisces. I think of karmic matters. I think of our blind spots. I think of hidden enemies. And sometimes these are hidden enemies that can come within us. Okay, so this is something that we need to be mindful of too. The ways that we can sabotage ourselves, perhaps through lack of focus, or focusing on the wrong things, or not taking actions that are necessary, or through just complete, abandonment of what is necessary in order to bring things to a place of victory. Now, the bees, where is the bees coming from? What does that have anything to do with? Well, as I was researching Sowilo, I kept coming across these associations with bees. And specifically, let me see, I wrote it down here. It's a specific name that kept coming up. Seargewolf, which means victory women, okay? But it's directly related to bees, okay? Why would Seargewolf, which means victory women, be associated with bees? And how does this relate to Sowilo? Well, when I looked into it and I traced these threads, I found out that the rough translation of Seargewolf means moving like troops through the air on a mission. And certainly that is what Suna's doing with the sun. I mean, she's got something hot on her tail. She probably has troops chasing her, hot on her tail. The forces that are trying to oppose the returning of the light, okay? We've been seeing these themes play out for a while here, and that makes sense, but I still was like, okay, is there any deeper correlation there? And then I learned that there's also correlation to the Valkyries in association with this. And I was like, okay, I get it. So with the Valkyrie energy, Sowilo is associated with the air that is connected to Frigga and also Freya, okay? And Freya is totally connected to the Valkyrie medicine. And Valkyries are the choosers of the slain. They are the ones who mark who will fall on the battlefield. And then, of course, they help to guide, the Valkyries help to guide them to Valhalla, okay? So what we see here is that there is a mission that you must complete, and there is a battle in store. You do have to face a challenge, but as long as you continue on the path of really fostering your vigor, tending to your health, and that applies on all levels. It's not just your physical health, although that brute strength is absolutely applied here, and the need for discipline in these areas, but also that iron will that can hold the power to actually activate the transformation point and secure the field, so to speak. It's very, very necessary to keep these qualities in mind, okay? And then I thought, wow, this is really wild, okay? So when I got in touch with this siege wolf and I started looking into it more deeply, it brought me to the magical shield. It brought me to an old Anglo-Saxon metrical charm that is to keep honeybees from swarming. And that cracked me up because it reminded me of the download that I brought in on our cocktails and cards with Miss Jenna, and the whole message that came in with the pantless beekeeper. And then, of course, she also had the beekeeper come through for her. So this is pretty wild. This is what this is really telling me. You already have a certain sweetness, a certain victory in your hands, but you are a little vulnerable still to the swarm. You are vulnerable to these troops that are flying through the sky, that are trying to prevent the return of the sun into your life, okay? There's a vulnerability you need to attend to here. And what is needed? A shield, a magic shield, 2033 on the clock. And this is something that you will be able to achieve. Now, I did research on this. I'm like, I want to know more about this. I want to know, what is this charm? And I did find it, okay? And I did find out the purpose of the charm. The purpose of the charm was to prevent being attacked with stings by honeybees and to protect oneself from the swarm. And it was something that was used, it was a ritual that was used to confuse the flight pattern of the bees, but also to ensure favor of the bees, that they may share that honey and that they may also share their wisdom, certain principles that are held in bee medicine, the spirit of cooperative community, the spirit of stored food that is stored efficiently and prudently, and also their ability to foretell the weather. In other words, you don't need a weatherman to know which way the wind blows. All of these qualities come in with bee medicine. So the beekeeper in this scenario is really asking the wise women, the siege wolf, the victory women, okay, to share their bounty with them. And not just in terms of the sweetness of the honey, but also their wisdom, all right? A lot of movable parts in that, but I want to read the charm to you. I'm actually going to bring something in on the alchemy level of members where we'll incorporate a working involving this for the full moon. So I'm pretty excited about that, just to give a little something to whet the members' appetite. We've been diving pretty deep into Norse roots, so this for me was really exciting when all this came in, but I will read the charm to you all so you can get a sense of it and the spirit of it. But the charm alone is not the actual carrying out of the ritual, okay? There's more involved. There's actions that are taken. So I want to go ahead and share it, though, for the sake of the download, so you can get a feel for the charge that's coming in with the air elementals next 72 hours, all right? I've got it. I found it. Lo, earth masters all creatures. It masters evil. It masters deceit. It masters humanity's greedy tongue. Sit, wise women, settle on earth. Never in fear fly to the woods. Please be mindful of my welfare, as all men are of food and land. Okay? So this is just what we got to open up here. We're going to dive into it and get some messages here. First, I want to get a collective read on this energy. Look at that. Wow. Bottom of the deck energy. We have commune with psilocybin here. And it's coming in with the number 13, which is Freya's number. It does speak of stepping into a certain power here. And we have the sense of community, cooperative community, that principle. This piece is so important because we are all needed to come to a place of synergy in terms of how we work within community. If we are truly to recapture the sun, if we are truly to reclaim the dawn. And that's going back to that whole piece of having Pluto in Aquarius. That energy is very very much at the forefront for the collective as a whole. So it can't be just about that sort of individualism. Even though individualism is important, it's something that we can't let take precedence over what's good for the whole, okay? It is something that is very much present at this time with all the action going down in Aries, for sure. But there's more than just individuation at play here. We have to consider our peace to hold within that cooperative whole. So this is something to consider. This is also a piece about looking at your environment, what's going on in your community. And that includes not only just the environment as a whole, the area where you're living, and your responsibility within that, how you're moving through the community, how you are affecting the community, how you are contributing to the environment, but it's also about the people that you're sharing that space with too. And we have to remember that that is part of really holding this power of Suilo. It's all about really making sure that we are supporting that communal balance, okay, that collective balance, because we're all subject to the whims of the earth. The earth is what supports us. The earth is what ensures that we are fed, that we are nourished. It is a steward for our welfare. But we also have to consider the role that we play in that as well, okay? So this is also a community matter, taking it beyond that, okay? Air signs, you're dealing with a community matter here. There could be buzz in the hive mind. There is something that needs to be released here, something that needs to be released to the moon. If you are to leave the valley of the shadow with your head held high, and arrive at this balancing point that temperance brings with the invitation to embrace the sweet honey nectar of life that is joy here coming in. Okay, so this is the promise of a certain joy returning to your life. It's currently in the process of shape shifting here. And it's coming in with number 7, the Chariot. But there is a need to be aware on this journey that there are some dream time elements in play. And this comes in even stronger with Judgment energy signature here and Weaver. So you're weaving a new dream into being here, but you're plucking it out of the dark. In other words, you're bringing what's been subconscious into the realm of consciousness. And this is allowing you to retrieve certain keys. It's allowing you to retrieve certain medicines you hold, certain magics that you can wield, certain hidden knowledge, things that you can't speak about, but you more grok and come into the awareness of. And you're currently going through this transformational process. You're in a process of becoming. Likewise, as you're in this process of becoming, the world around you, the environment around you is shape-shifting too. As you are weaving this new dream into being, and many of you are doing this very quietly, you're doing it in the dark, you're not putting things on blast, you're not sharing these plans as of yet. With armadillo medicine here, it's important that you're mindful of having that magic shield. Okay. Now, certainly, this magic shield is meant to protect you from a swarm of bees. And yet, there's still wisdom to learn from the bees. Do you see what I mean? This is where we may be facing what appears an opponent, a challenger, an adversary, a large wolf that wants to do anything in its power to bring an end to that dawning of the new day. But there's something also that adversary is teaching us in terms of how to really come into a place of health within ourselves, how to develop an iron will to be able to hold that power. See, I know I'm on the right track, 29:55 on the clock, because as I went into that, it started to dim down on this side, okay? See, there's a certain quality here of being able to really give yourself over with passion flower to that lunar essence, to enter into that flow, right? You have to give yourself over to the effortless flow. If you give yourself over to the effortless flow and you don't use Sawilo in a destructive way, okay? Because Sawilo really has no reversals. It doesn't. But if we're not in a place of health and balance within ourselves, if we are not focused in the right way, if we are inattentive, if we are not taking action, right, then we can run into trouble. Then we can run into trouble. That's when we open Pandora's box. And that's when certain unconscious elements within us can gain the upper hand. Then we use Sawilo in a very destructive way. We use it in a way where it can become about competition. It can become winning at any cost, facing off with the nemesis in such a way that we are distracted. We turn away from our mission, which is to get to Ragnarok, and instead we turn back. We face the wolf, the dire wolf, hot on our tail. And then, much like Icarus flying to the sun, we burn our wings and come down to earth with a thud. So there's something that we do need to release here, okay? And you're going to discover this. And I feel like what needs to be released will become very clear with that full moon in Libra that's coming in. In fact, that is when the waterway or the honey flow, you could say, opens up. Now, when I say the honey flow opens up, we also have to anticipate, because when we're looking at Libra specifically, whereas the Piscean energy represented by the wolf represents hidden enemies, the house of Libra represents open enemies, okay? So we have to understand that at that time, even as we're moving forward, our chariot arrives on the scene. We're entering the honey flow. There is a way forward here. Also, now is the time when we are going to become aware of the opposition that's hot on our tail. As long as we do not become distracted and we allow ourselves to already just stay in the flow of what's already been secured here. You have to remember this with Suelo, that the more that we give over to the flow and we just put our focus on the work at hand, developing that iron will to succeed with our objective, our mission, and to cultivate our health, then we will automatically be carried there. We only get in trouble when we move into sort of that egoic place of facing off, getting into a battle of wills, or seeking some kind of revenge. Then we will surely lose out on the dawn. Now, there are two cards here that are hiding. Oh, I love how that came through. Look at 13 comes through again with strength. Okay, so again, Freya has a chariot too. She's not Suna, okay, but Freya is connected through her egg with that particular rune, Suelo. So we know with Freya, we are really getting this message coming through that it's like this birth, this new beginning, it's already secured. Everything you need, you hold within your heart. There's no need to be forceful here. Look, there's even the Venusian energy associated with Freya coming in there. You're in the waterway, and there's even like laurel leaves here, kind of securing the victory, the strength to overcome, the courage to overcome what has held one back, not through force, through gentleness here with the wisdom of the rose quartz, going with the flow, being in this softness, this receptivity. Remember the flow, the energy signature of Sawilo is not cold and embattled and contracted. It's the opposite. It's warm. It's sensual. It's guided forward by the senses, fully engaged. And it's also getting into that flow of life as well, getting outside, breathing the fresh air, taking in the elements, drinking in the sun, right? And what does it secure? It secures this beautiful wealth, all right? The wealth that is like that cauldron of Dagda, that inexhaustible flow of nourishment that doesn't just nourish us, but what? Nourishes the community as a whole. It brings balance, it brings joy. And I love this here, see, because we got this beautiful peacock, but the peacock isn't putting on a show, isn't putting on, some big display here. It already inherently knows. It already inherently knows the beauty of what is going to come through, what is secured when we move with this wisdom. And this is beautiful too, with number 19 representing the sun. It already understands this radiance that is about to emerge out of a time of darkness, coming through the other side of the valley of the shadow of death to life being renewed here, coming in not only with the energy of Pluto, but we got Jupiter on the scene. So see, there is this brilliance that's plucked out of the darkness here. I love it. Really beautiful, beautiful energy. Let me go ahead and do a cut of the deck. And then we'll get some more details for this collective download here. Yeah, look at this. The change is coming. Here is rebirth on the scene. All right. We got the snake medicine activated, shedding old skins. The fire is activated. Snake associated with the south, also associated with the sign of Scorpio on the medicine wheel. So this is really about letting the illusions be shed with the Neptunian energy here, okay? Letting those illusions be shed and having this activation. The activation is actually coming through cellular memory. It's coming from the roots of your records, okay? It's got like Akashic Records vibes. These are all of the lineages, all of the medicines, all of the empowerments that are being activated in you at this time. But it's not a strength. It's not a will. It's not anything that is gained by force. It's actually quite the opposite. It's about really just moving into that effortless flow. If you move into the effortless flow, you're going to be carried there. The change is already happening. The change is already in effect. Some of you may actually have an ancestral energy that will be coming forward for you at this time that's going to help support you in this process. And of course, we have Jaguar medicine back there hanging out too. So this is about that impeccable integrity. It's also to trust that there will be the dawn, even as you're moving through darkness, even as you are moving with opposition hot on your tail. It's about keeping your orientation in the right place. You're heading toward the sun. You're not going back to the valley of the shadow of death. And again, dream weaver medicine coming in here with poppy, okay? Remember too, don't get enchanted in the poppy field by the witch who's left a nice place to just rest for a while for you. Or else you could find yourself facing more challenges than necessary. You see, the dawn isn't there yet. It's not there yet. You're still traveling through the dark, but things will get lit up as we arrive at that place of the full moon in Libra. All right. So pay mind to this. And there's a lot that's coming through in the dream world at this time. Pay attention to your dreams, but it's also about your waking dreams. All right. I really feel this strongly. Don't sleep on your dreams. It's good to get your spiritual guidance and get your directive and understand certain unconscious parts of yourself through the dream world. And I do feel like there's a lot of that information coming in. But the other thing you really need to be aware of here is when you are awake, don't sleep on your dreams. You've got to activate the potential of Solilo if you really want to drive your chariot forward here. This is something that absolutely cannot be ignored. All right. Let's get some more details here. Since we know we got some imps on the scene, we're pulling out the angels and imps here. Bottom of the deck, 5 of Pentacles. Yes, secrets of nature are going to be revealed to you. This will expand your knowledge, but it's also going to expand your knowledge within a particular community. This does have energy associated with it, like, pollination, it's something that is carried forward on the wind. Okay. So it is about sort of seeding the growth of the future. There is a need for there to be some patience here at the basis of the matter with the 5 of Pentacles. You may be in a position where you feel like you have been lacking something. You may have been operating from more of a lack mindset. You may have been feeling oppressed. You may have been dealing with a particular oppressor or somebody who has been making you feel like they're using you as a footstool. You might be taking on a bit of that mindset of being just weary, tired, downtrodden, but this is the time when you really do need to evoke your iron will. This is one of the tests. This is one of the challenges. I mean, we know that you are definitely facing a spiritual initiation here, and it's to activate all of these hidden gifts and magics and empowerments that you hold. But it's a spiritual transformation. And so anytime we're stepping into the arena of spiritual growth, we will be confronted with immense challenge. And usually that's one of the challenges. You don't initially see the result. Sometimes it feels like it's taking longer than it should. But everything that is opposing us is there to empower us. And so there is really a need to start to see this where you are experiencing opposition, where you are facing challenges. What is it giving you the opportunity to step into? And perhaps this isn't something you've ever really considered before. Perhaps it's not something you ever really looked at before. How is this nemesis empowering me, strengthening me? How are the blocks that I'm encountering giving me the opportunity to step into a greater potential? Now, no one ever said that's easy, but also what you're obtaining here is not just something that's handed to somebody on a silver platter. I really feel that very strongly. And your metal has to be tested because there's certain power you're holding here, right? There's certain power you're holding here. All right, let's check it out. What we got here? Yeah, it's going to take strength to arrive at the fulfillment of that 9 of Cups, right? Your strength is going to be tested. And sometimes when you feel like your outer circumstances or your environment that you're in or certain people or elements that oppose you is what's making you feel weak, where do you find the strength then? If you're not finding it in your outer circumstances, you have to cultivate it within you. This is about relying on your logic. Your intellect at this time can really work in your favor. It can give you great discernment. This is also remembering with that Jaguar medicine as you're coming into knowledge of secret things, hidden things, as you're having certain magics reawaken in you, as you're recovering empowerments within yourself. This is also about the use of that power, the ethical use of power, because you're being granted an opportunity to step into a certain power here. So the ethics are very important here. There's also something here about like not being prideful. I just got that too, you know, to secure this wealth that you're stepping into. It's not about being showy with it. All right. There is a need to have a certain cloak of imperceptibility. And this will help you complete your mission. You really shouldn't necessarily announce your moves at this time if you hope to have longevity as you head on up to the activation of that stone of destiny. Because there's something here that you're recovering. It's something that was lost. It's a certain treasure that was lost. It's something that belongs to you that was lost. But if you sort of announce your moves, you might find somebody maps out that treasure before you. And should that empowerment fall in the wrong hands, it could be disastrous for the community as a whole. Okay, that's kind of how it's coming through. All right, let me go ahead and get one round of this here. And we'll get some further details coming in. I know there's going to be like so much more that comes in around this. I mean, I got so many notes sitting here, but if I were to go into all the notes I have on this right now, it would take hours upon hours. And I think this is something that's better digested a bit at a time, especially with that message of patience coming in. Oh, yes. See, what we have here is a source of motivation. It's a judgment coming in with the Six of Cups to lift up those who were fallen or humiliated here. So I get that there's a feeling that in some way you've been feeling like you're lacking something, that you don't understand why you're being denied it. And maybe that has affected your sense of motivation because you've been going through that valley of the shadow for a long time. And it's been hard to see the light up ahead, perhaps because of a particular devil that has been concealing the potential of the Empress here. But see, you're just about at this transformation point. And yes, you may have had a devil hot on your tail here that wanted to make things worse off than ever before. But as long as you are staying connected to what is necessary at this time, which is something that is needing to be sacrificed, released here to bring about a certain level of transformation, it's the activation of your particular roots, your tree of knowledge that is putting you in the position of Empress. And we see that what is preserved is the treasure with the Nine of Pentacles. Something magical is absolutely recovered here. But we do need to be aware of this devil, because there is something here that we might not expect that could be the means that this devil uses. Now we have to remember that there needs to be this sort of communal oriented mindset. That's at the foundation of everything. This isn't about competition. This isn't about retaliation. This isn't about saying, I'm the best, I won, you lose. No, that's not what this is about at all. And in fact, if we enter into that kind of prideful space, right as we're about to secure a major victory, activate our soul's purpose, enter into that hero's quest for power, and receive our treasure as represented by the Nine of Pentacles, then we could be tricked by this devil into being bound. And that birth that we are right on the precipice of becomes the thing we're sacrificing. And that's not what we're meant to sacrifice here. I feel like what we're being asked to sacrifice is a false sense of victory, a false sense of victory that only takes in individual desires. Because sometimes when we look at that Nine of Cups, it can be selfish. It can be focused on just personal gratification without really considering, why is somebody having a certain power being put in their hands? Usually when this kind of power is being put in someone's hands, it's meant to be used for the greater good. And so there really is this message being brought through very strongly here about use this power wisely. 4944 on the clock with that, okay? Breaks down to 13, 444, okay? 444, 12. Do you see the dichotomy of the energies here? This is a karmic matter that we're transforming. We are taking a blind spot and we're holding it up to the light of the sun. And the sun is revealing to us, this is what's needed for health here. This is what's needed to activate your will. So you have the determination to fulfill your mission despite this opposition. This will give you the motivation you need to secure the judgment of the Six of Cups, where true souls come into a place of alignment and where there was humiliation or a sense of having fallen and not having anything come to lift you up. Maybe even life itself, spirit itself seems like it was MIA. That could happen if you've been inattentive. That could happen if you haven't been going out and actually connecting with life here. There's something about needing to come back to life again. Because there's this beautiful fruitfulness, abundance, harvest that wants to come in here with the Empress. But that harvest first comes through securing the lessons of all the elementals. And that is what rises us up into that status as the Empress or the Emperor, right? It is that transformational journey of harnessing the elementals. And I'm telling you right now, if you really want to harness the elementals, when we're looking at it from an alchemical perspective, that is not something that can be done if you're always sitting on your butt staring at a screen. You got to get out into the flow of the elementals for them to awaken within you and speak to you and work through you. This is so fundamental here. It's coming in so strongly. So I really feel the first step is just get up, get out, get about, get into the flow of life, go outside. If you've been spending too much time indoors, you need to go outside. Get moving here, okay? Get moving. It's time to really bring attention where it matters here, because you have a very important mission to complete. And it's one that assures peace here. And it also assures peace between you and some soulmate that you are meant to align with here. And perhaps there's been opposition or unrest or division created here by an enemy that's been hiding out in that valley of the shadow, right? And perhaps one's been too focused on that enemy, and that is the blind spot. I feel that very strongly here. All right, let me go ahead and do a cut of the deck, and then we're going to see how this is playing out for each of the individual air signs. Let me cut the deck here. Ooh, look at that. There's a couple things wanting to kind of linger. Sort of this might be, what we need to see that's blocking. So I'm going to look at both of the cuts here. Okay, so here we have Four of Cups. Yes. So this is something that we feel was stolen away from us. But there's every indication here that the secrets that are hidden from us at this time, that give us the empowerment we need to fetch anything that is requested and bring us into alignment with the right familiars. Because with this, in the past, perhaps we were connected to questionable familiars, right? People that we may have shared too much with. This is why I think there's still the importance of not being too showy here, right? Not putting too much on display, because there's still this threat. There's still the blind spot of questionable familiars that could steal away something to hoard for themselves that's meant to be shared with all, because they're not They're not in alignment with that mission. They weren't assigned to hold this power. Do you see what I mean here? So this is about really keeping certain things that are becoming illuminated to you through this process of the steps you need to take, what you need to do here between you and your soul, right? You and your soul. And when I speak of soul, I'm also speaking of soul, S-O-L, the sun, the source of that vitality, the source of that empowerment, the source that drives your chariot forward. Remember, the chariot, when we look at it in tarot, the driver does not have their hands on the rein here. Something higher has the reins here, okay? It's just about you entering this flow. But do be aware of what you're sharing here, because there's some questionable familiars that want to try to create disappointment here selfishly for their own objective. And unfortunately, that causes something to be lost for the greater collective, okay? You really have to be mindful of this. I think I want to look at what's on the other side here before I see what these two cards are that are sort of the crossing energy coming in here. And with this, we have the King of Wands. There's that Spear of Lu energy. You see, you need to take action here. Don't talk about things. Don't talk about what you're going to do. Don't talk about your plans. Remember, you talk about your plans, you talk about it to the wrong people. It's like opening Pandora's box. Why? Because you're just paying lip service to something. Now's the time to take action. That's what's required with the Spear of Lu. Once you've gained access to these hidden sources of knowledge that are going to be illuminated within you, it is so important that you put it into action. Don't just sit on it, okay? This is going to give you all the answers you need, to move forward. And you don't need to give it lip service. You don't need to give the answers to others. Let your actions be the answers they seek, okay? This is something that is all about letting the proof be in the pudding, you know? It's about actually showing up and doing the thing, not talking about it here. Because there's something greater that can really be lost with whatever's hot on your tail here. And what do we got here? Yes, do you see? This is what's crossing. We have death with the Seven of Pentacles. You know, it's really about your orientation. Notice here with the Seven of Pentacles, it's giving you a big clue about your orientation, much like that hermit figure in the tarot. You're using your light, the light you're generating within, to guide you forward. It's just like, you know, that sun moving across the sky with the chariot. You have to stay focused on your mission, which is to bring about that dawn. You got to get the sun to Ragnarok before that dire wolf is on your tail and takes a bite of you that holds you back here. It's like if you turn back, time's up, right? It's sure death. You'll remain in the valley of the shadow of death. You'll go for another round in the karmic spin cycle here, and you don't want that. You're meant to move into the rebirth energy. And it's very interesting here, even on the death card, it gives a clue about where the focus should be. It should be on health and longevity, which is exactly one of the keys for activating the potential of Suelo, is to focus on your health. And as long as you do this, as long as you keep your orientation on where you're heading toward that new dawn, then you will be exercising clear discernment, and it will bring about the prosperity. Also, your deliverance from feeling imprisoned. And that can be the prison of the mind, when you're stuck in your head and you're just thinking of all the things you want to do, but you're not executing them. You're not bringing attention to those areas. That can keep you in a place of inertia. that can keep you bound up. And we have to remember that when we're looking at oppositional elements, whether it's coming from people, places, things, that's the way it can work against us. The way we hold too much space for it in our consciousness. We're not focusing, harnessing the intellectual acumen in the correct way that allows us to actually put our will into action, right? That's how it's coming through. It looks like there's every ability here to hit the mark. You just have to take heed of what's coming through here. That was interesting. What just got knocked off? And something didn't like the sound of hitting that mark. What didn't like that? Ooh, yeah. See, we got 10 of Cups here coming in the fulfillment. 2 of Pentacles, balancing something out. You see, there's something that is being balanced out here. And something isn't happy about it. You do have oppositional energy that doesn't want you to reach this place of harvest, of fruition. And I'm telling you that because the reason why there's such opposition is there is a knowing that this harvest will be your offering. It's something that you don't hoard to yourself. 10 of Cups is not a solitary energy, okay? 10 of Cups is not the self-gratification of the 9 of Cups. It's something that's meant to be shared with all. And it is the true gold of the Tuatha De Danann. It is that gold at the other end of the rainbow, right? But you have to stay really focused here because there's definitely energies out there that are not down for you completing this mission, all right? Okay, I'm going to jump into individual signs here. Let me go ahead and turn these the other way. So do be looking for more of this coming because I'm sure more is going to filter in and I want to bring in more just from the notes that I've taken. So I'll definitely be diving into that. We're going to start out with Gemini here at 1206. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with the Arcane BS deck here. Just because that beekeeper, the pantless beekeeper came in, I was like, I got to bring it back to that. What we're going to be looking at here is what is the empowerment, the magic, the talent you need to invoke at this time in order for you to manifest this dawn that's being asked of you. All right. And how you can channel your power in such a way that it overcomes the sort of adversarial elements, which I feel the greatest adversary we always need to overcome is the adversary within that can cause us to get caught up in the illusion of the other, okay? So let's see what we got coming in here for Gemini around this. Yes, Gemini. The basis of the matter here is to really hone your focus at this time. You need to keep your eyes on the prize, even though it may seem like it's off in the distance. There's going to be a lot of false reflections, projections coming at you. You have to remember that they're meant to get you distracted. They're meant to put you in that position where you feel like you have to battle it out with a particular opponent. If you get caught up in this kind of energy, it's going to distract you and you're going to see that light go completely out of view because you're going to be held back in the illusion. So there is something here that is specifically designed to get you caught up in a false reflection, right? Some of you could be dealing with a little glamour that's being spun around you. Certainly, if you run in a magical set that could be coming from somebody who is casting some glamour. And that's interesting as that came out. If that's speaking to you, it's probably this effing guy, you know, who likes to wield his power in a very forceful way. This could be somebody domineering that you've been dealing with. This could be somebody that's been making you feel oppressed. This is something that's very karmic, could go way back. You could even have a life you shared with this person all the way back since ancient times. And likely this is also related potentially to an intimate connection here. All right, an intimate connection here. Maybe that's what's hot on your tail too. This could be a distraction. This could be somebody from your past that you were intimately connected to. You'll know if this is your situation, if you feel like there were some other intimate connections involved in this mix that were being kept secret. You might also feel like you've been dealing with a little bit of an energy harvesting kind of situation. I don't feel like you have fear in this situation, but I do feel like you decided you weren't really turned on by somebody anymore with the wet pants in reverse. Like, you're like, no, I don't want to step in that same river twice. You know, I think you let this flow on. I think because there's certain secret things that have come to light. But whoever this is used to having a certain kind of, it looks like, power over you. And they may be what's hot on your tail here. It looks like you're meant to sort of call your energy back here, not go and enter that same river again, because that's not the flow you're meant to enter here. But you might be digging a little too deep, trying to understand something that feels like a bit of a mystery to you, something that's been kept secret from you. And it's sort of like you're looking in the wrong place, though. These are not the secrets you need access to. It's almost like it doesn't matter anymore. We see that you're no longer like turned on by this. There's something you're like, no. In fact, you know, oh, interesting. I just heard run as fast as you can. You can't catch me. I'm the gingerbread man. So this could have been like a situation where you were dealing with, you know, somebody who wanted you to help them get to the other side. But then once they got where they needed to go, they bailed out on you and you were left with wet pants, just like that. I think it was a fox, right? Wasn't it a fox that helps the gingerbread man across the water and then takes off and like leaves the fox there to get all wet? Okay, so this could be like a camouflaged part of you, a hidden part of you, that you're prone to sort of put yourself in positions where you ignore your own senses, you ignore your own sensory information, your intuition. You go against the current of your own intuition, and you support somebody else through the power you are lending to them to get them to the other side, but then they go running. But I think something about this, you became aware of this, and now you pulled out, so to speak. You pulled out of this intimate connection. You no longer are turned on by this. But because this character has always sort of had the power in this situation, and you've just taken your power back, I feel like they're what's hot on your tail. They may actually have a couple other people with them here too. These could be kind of catty people. This could be like a little catty circle of people as well. All right. I think you need to keep heading in the direction you've been heading in and not get distracted here. That's really important because it looks like you're ending this tyrant's rulership over your life. I feel like this is something that goes way back. It feels like something you're overthrowing here that's had a very oppressive effect on your life. Let me do a cut of the deck here and see what we got for you. Yes, wow. You are absolutely cutting this off. You're no longer in a place of indecisiveness. As long as you keep your focus here, you're going to get the wings you need to learn how to fly. And it's what secures the crown here, okay? It's what actually has you hitting the mark and achieving your aim with your hero's quest for power. It does require that you recognize you've sort of been settling for just a slice of something when you're meant to have the whole pie. And why are you meant to have the whole pie? Because you will share it. You will share the bounty with others. You understand the communal spirit. But in order for you to do this, you have to sort of like give a finger to what has caused you a lot of anger, maybe even something that has made you feel at times like you want some get back. If you're honest with yourself in your quiet moments, when you're sitting and stewing on it, there may be times when you do want to take more sort of aggressive action or really face off with someone or let them have it, so to speak. But you're really being advised to cut that off, because once you allow this to just be flushed and released from your life, take the action to move forward here, that's when the transformation takes root. This is you actually really overcoming the challenges that have been put on your path with that 8th house energy of Scorpio, moving through that cycle and activating the wisdom within you to move forward in a very independent way. I see, like, the little owl's talons here. So it does remind me like that Lilith energy. Working with that sense of individuation is important for you right now to break from the crowd, because whatever crowd you've been dealing with, they abuse power. They're not holding their power wisely. They are people who think of themselves, what they want, what's good for them. They're not really considering what's in interest of the greater whole. And so it's almost like for you to protect your mission and protect the dawn, you have to keep this single point focus on the present and moving forward and where you're going, and not going to those places that put you in a space where you feel conflicted between your head and your heart, but instead being in the present where it just allows you to feel that sense of alignment automatically. Anytime you start feeling pulled in one direction or another, you're off the mark. And then it's time to really bring it back to the present, okay? Everything for you is about not being distracted by what's coming at you externally here. Yes, because do you see with the penis weasel here, all right? It's like you're aware that something's hot on your tail. You hold a certain power in your hand. You hold the power of Suil. You hold the power of the sun. You're meant to use it as the guiding light forward. It's what has you bringing on that new dawn in your life and stepping into the rebirth energy. But the way you could sabotage yourself is by getting distracted, looking back at this effing guy and looking back at these other intimate connections that may be involved in the mix and these secrets that are being kept within this community that could land you in hot water and have you not getting to the other side. And meanwhile, this effing guy, this gingerbread man, will just be on the run again. So don't get duped. Don't get fooled again, especially if somebody is trying to allude to some traumatic change they've been through. I wouldn't trust it necessarily, especially if your senses are firing off, because I see it's the thing that could cut off this new beginning that wants to come in for you, right? That's what I got. You're facing off with somebody that you gave too much power in the past and they abused that power, and it's time you take your power back. That's what I got for you, Gemini, okay? All right. Libra coming in at 114.51. All right, Libra. Let's see. The alchemy point. The alchemy point that's about to bring on your vision for your future. Is about to get rooted in your present here, so pay attention, Libra. And certainly something will likely be illuminated with your full moon that you got coming in here. Just around the corner. Comes in on Saturday, I believe. Okay, so to look for signs of freedom about to come in. Yes, signs of freedom. All right. You may feel right now that you have no effing clue about how you're supposed to wield your fire, but that's because you've been chained to something that's making your free spirit feel docile. We got eagle medicine coming in here, and it's interesting. Eagle represents great spirit, but eagle is also associated with Suilo, the rune Suilo. So see, there's something here that's acting as a bit of a hampering force on your mission with learning to fly. There's a certain chain you need to break here. And you may sense that. You may already know that, but you may feel like, I don't have any effing clue. I'm armed with a certain truth. I got the fire. I have the will to act. I know that there's something I need to do here, but I'm not just quite sure how I need to go about breaking these chains. Okay, let's see what this is about, Libra. Let's get some more details for you, Libra. What does Libra need to do to break these chains, to get that sense of freedom here, elevation, to be able to know the lay of the land so they can call in what's being asked of them here? What magic do they need to rely on? What empowerment, what talent do they need to evoke here? And how do they need to channel that power on behalf of the collective? Let's see what we got here. All right, Libra. Well, this is interesting. I feel like you need to tap into the feral nerd inside of you and not allow yourself to sort of succumb to false fears. That's also an important aspect of Suilo. I'm saying false fears with the rabbit medicine there. There's ways that fear, when we allow it to have too much control, like, well, I'm not quite sure how I should do this, so maybe I shouldn't do anything at all. When we come from that standpoint and we're not willing to sort of like get into it, get into the game, try some things out, try it on for size. When we're too reticent to take action because we feel like we need to have all those answers right away, rather than just responding in a very like intuitive, sensory sort of way where we're sensing out the lay of the land. We're sensing the next action that we should take. We're sensing the flow of the energy. We're reading the room, okay? When we get too in our heads and we feel like we have to have a total strategy in play, we have to have it all figured out, that's when we can sort of call our fears to us, because it's almost like we're creating opposition on our path. It's sort of like we're assuming that there is need to have all this kind of strategy in play rather than just going with the flow, because our fears are what is informing us rather than our will to take a certain action that leads us in the direction we need to go. And what is holding us back here? Well, what's feral is the nerd. Okay, so there might be some part of you that you feel is something others will misunderstand or they won't get, or maybe this will only speak to me and it's not really gonna speak to the collective and they won't know how to receive it. And I don't know what's gonna happen if I bring this part of me out. And yet this is the thing that really turns me on. Like, This is the thing that motivates me. And so you're holding back this real fertile part of yourself because you're afraid of how it will be received, that others won't get it, or that you'll be sort of like the odd man out. Like you may feel like a nerd, like, well, I'm not into what other people are into, or what I desire to do is not what everybody else desires to do, or the things that really inspire me seem to be things other people feel aren't important at all. But that might be a good thing, you see, because we need trailblazers right now, because the stuff that the majority of society is fixated on has no value at all. They're obsessed with wealth, they're obsessed with status, they're obsessed with how it looks on Instagram, and that's not what really has any value. That is when it's going more into that position of pride and being more concerned about personal gratification than it is really considering what's good for the greater whole. And the reason why this sort of feral quality is waking up in you is it's the instinctual part of you. It's the part of you that's feeling really enthusiastic about something, that's feeling excited about something that's making that sun sort of warm your bones and making you feel like you're coming back to life again. And you actually really need to go for it. Okay? This is important. You need to go for it. Okay? You can't allow yourself to be held back. You can't worry about what other people are going to think about it. What you don't realize is by you bringing this forward, you may actually be able to create an avenue that really serves the community, because there's many others like you, and they need to have a space where they feel they can belong to. And you might be part of creating that avenue for those who also feel drawn to sort of a wild, feral, free path, to be able to roam without opposition, to find good traveling companions here. What do we got? We have quite a few that came up. Oh, I love it. Yes. Yes. Okay. I love it because it's the message that came in that I brought in with Miss Jenna when we did our download for the community. It's like, so long and thanks for the fish. Okay. It is about moving forward in a new way. I feel like you're recovering like an old part of you. It could even be like something that you sort of tamped down, maybe because, again, it might have been something that was repressed in the past. You might have dealt with judgment. Maybe, people made fun of you. Maybe it's something from when you were a kid and you're really wanting to reclaim this, or it has ties to a part of you that was shut down in the past, probably because of judgments of other people having too much control, too much say so about what lane you were meant to be in this life. Okay, we got Robot riding a gorilla here, coming in with Aunt Brenda. Okay, this is somebody also perhaps who thought that they knew better than you. All right, and so you let this person kind of call shots in your life, or you let this person have too much control, or you just sort of fell in line and you did the thing that a Libra can do at times when in the shadow, where you just sort of acquiesced in favor of keeping the peace and not rousing certain opposition, perhaps with somebody who was particularly cantankerous, controlling, demanding, would always kind of talk down at you. In fact, there might be something you're really being asked to bring forward here that you allowed to be held back for too long by certain authority figures in your life, or people who presume to have authority in your life. It's sort of like time's up on that, and school's in session. A transformation is taking place here. You're ready to call back in the stuff that nourishes you, because you know that when you feel nourished, when you achieve that balance, then that nourishment also radiates out from you. It has a ripple effect here. And I also feel like you're needing to do this because there's a different kind of signal that needs to be transmuted here that sort of disrupts an old way of being, an old way of doing things, an old way of moving forward on autopilot. So you can return to this space of like playfulness and freedom, and you can enter that flow. And it really is coming in with your full moon here in Libra. That's when you're going to move forward in a brand new way. And maybe what you're recovering here is a hitchhiker's guide to the galaxy, right? It might be quite cosmic. It might be quite Aquarian, all right? We do have very Aquarian vibes coming in here. Also Saturnian vibes, I have to say. This is about really cleansing away all the old projections so you can get a vision of your own. It's sort of like other people's visions for your life have acted as a filter on your reality tunnel. And now you're being asked to cleanse that away so you can move forward in a brand new way. And it looks like it's a more playful way. It's a more spirited way. And you don't have to strategize, and you don't have to think of the answers you'll give everybody, because guess what? You don't owe anybody any answers about how you choose to live your life. Remember, don't let your words do the talking. Let your actions speak for themselves. What you'll find is if you let your actions speak yourself for themselves, those who are really sort of like stuck in the old way, mired in that, who weren't able to get beyond the old framework, they might actually decide, hey, maybe I want to come along for the ride and move into this greater expansion. You might be surprised. There might be a person in particular that you never thought would come around to see a different point of view actually comes into alignment with you. Okay. I do feel like there is some purification needed here. I do recommend some spiritual cleansing. All right. Some kind of cleansing of vision. All right. Could even be something around cleansing away, Malokyo, cleansing away the evil eye. All right. But I also feel like it's about cleansing your own view from others' projections here. All right. So doing a little spiritual cleansing can be very beneficial for you at this time, just so you can see things clearly, so you can see things accurately moving forward here. Okay. What you are able to do to really secure the purity of your vision without the outside interference of any filters that others want to put on it. Also, you just let yourself be seen as you are. You don't need to play the game, okay? Just let yourself show up real, raw, a little bit nerdy. It's okay. It's what turns you on that's going to drive you forward here. And when I'm saying what turns you on, I'm speaking on a sensory level. What really just excites you, makes you feel alive, makes you feel brimming with health. Not only that, gives you the strength and the iron will to go forward, even if you might face opposition or judgment, because, hey, okay, you might not get it, but this just feels good. This is just what excites me. All right. So this is really important to maintain this focus right now. Let me do a cut of the deck. So I do feel like also your chariot's a little different here. Okay. There's something very different about your chariot, and your chariot that's going to move you forward. It's going to come through in a very clever, unexpected, surprising way. Something about it's very tongue-in-cheek. Something about the way you're moving forward here. It's very playful, and it's definitely unexpected. And I feel it's retrieving something too from your past that's coming forward with you here. It's really kind of cool. Okay, let's do a cut of deck. See what we got. Okay, on this side, we got the digging ghost. And on the other side, random clip art. So this is very interesting. So yeah, it is a treasure hunt. And this is interesting. This is a treasure hunt. Digging ghost. So there might be also like an ancestral piece coming in here for you too, about something you need to retrieve from your roots. And I think about that. I think about when the iron gauntlets were needed to hold the hammer, right? That hammer of Thor. I think about the strength is found through your roots to be able to hold that hammer. But I also think about the treasure, which is the hammer itself, or you could even see that as the spear of Lu. And there's something here that you are retrieving, you're calling back. It's also your power. And the power to wield that bolt of lightning, which comes in like the bolt out of the blue, which is Sowilo. It's the activation of your soul's purpose, your destiny here in your quest for power. But there's something here that you have to unearth, okay? So that means you're going to have to dig a little deeper here. And I feel like this is maybe digging into the roots of a matter, digging into your ancestral roots. This might even be a particular guide coming in that's helping you address something at the root level. This could have something to do with spiritual roots as well. I mean, we did have this cleansing energy that came in here. So some of you, I mean, it could be possible. There could have been some roots put on you. You might need to attend to that, to kind of earth some old energy. So it doesn't have that ability to sort of cast a false sort of filter on your reality tunnel that throws you off the mark here, all right? It's a bit of a treasure hunt here, but I definitely see those elements coming in with Suelo. Like there's something here that you need to cut off. And that's what's going to secure the harvest that is to come, the light that is concealed within the darkness currently. You do need to tend to your health. You need to stay very focused here. And yeah, I mean, there might be a little juju here, a little bad juju you need to attend to clearing out. But this is about keeping really focused if you want to get your wings here so you can take flight and break those chains. You're meant to enter the flow here, right? You're meant to enter that honey flow. And the only way you can enter that flow may at first seem like you have to go against the current, all right? Because you're bringing forward something within you that you've kind of kept hidden, you know? Maybe you've sort of filtered this aspect of yourself because you weren't sure how it would be received. It's something very rooted, fundamental in the ground of your being, but it's time for you to bring it forward now, you know? Don't wear any masks. Just let yourself be seen as you are. It is what leads to the true treasure here. And like I said, you may feel that other people don't get it, but the reality is you'll find that your dance card is full in no time. There's a lot of other people who will be able to resonate with this, all right? And it's kind of funny too. I'm noticing here on this robot riding a gorilla here, okay? This could even be like that so-called opponent, you know, that dire wolf that's hot on your tail. And see, there's two of them here, but it looks like there's a transformation that takes place. There's some kind of evolution that takes place in one of these people that's tailing you. And they might decide they're more open to change than they first anticipated. Maybe they want to come along for the ride, all right? That's very interesting. That's very interesting. Maybe only after something's cleansed away, though, okay? Maybe only after something is cleansed away. So there could be something old coming forward with you, but it's only able to do so once something is cleansed away, all right? That could be anything. It could be a person. It could be a habit. It could be that person needs to cleanse that away. It could have something that isn't any of your soul work at all, okay? Because it looks like whatever this is, it wants to come along for the ride with you, okay? That's what I got. Interesting energy there. All right, and last one here. Aquarius coming in at 134.41. All right, Aquarius, let's see what we got here for you. Oh, that's interesting because you came in on Libra's read, so I just did a split of the deck here. I feel like there's a change you're going through here, Aquarius. You may have been more focused on sort of carnal pleasures here with werewolf making out with a pig. You may have been exploring some options. You too may be on a bit of a treasure hunt. There might be some aspects of yourself where you need to invoke a little bit more will, okay, in order to be able to hit the mark here. I think that's important. I feel like this is the cycle you've been in because it is coming in with that new moon energy. So I feel like you're also dealing with sort of like a sort of treasure hunt kind of vibe, sort of a lot of explorations, possibilities, a lot of kind of random things coming your way here. I do feel like a path is opening up for you, though. It feels like you might be making a choice here. You might be making a choice that came through having to sort of explore your options on where your true alignment lies. There's a lot about feeling turned on here. And then it makes me think of Suelo and the Ayat that includes Frigga and Freya here. And Freya has a golden boar. Okay, so that may be where you're wanting to head here. Maybe you're wanting to move into that greater expansion. That makes sense. Absolutely. Okay. Especially with Pluto being in your sign, you are bringing on the golden era here, with the age of Aquarius. Right? So I think this is what's sort of in the process of needing to be attended to right now, leading up to the full moon in Libra. Full moons are about culmination points. They're times of bringing things, to a head, but also times to let things go as well. So you might be letting go letting go of some options because of a golden opportunity to come into alignment with a particular path of exploration here that feels very much aligned for you. All right. Yeah. Ooh, this is interesting. Okay, you got super horny porno owl here. Okay, so I do think you've been exploring some options, but this is a great horned owl. So I love how all of the like winged imagery was coming in for each of the signs here. Because it is about learning to fly. There's something here that I feel like you're getting knowledge about, and it has something to do with your intimate connections. I think that it also has something to do with, where you're really wanting to put your focus as far as the new beginning you're wanting to see take root in your life. You're recognizing through trial and error and exploring your options that there's certain influences that aren't in your best interest. You've seen through deception in some cases, and you know that you need to kind of be aware of the tendency within yourself to kind of, it's coming through this way. Take the easier route. It's almost like to go where you really want to go, it's going to require quite a bit out of you. And so at one point, it might have felt a little easier to just sort of like keep it nice and mellow and easy and fun and frivolous, and I'm just going to kind of have this time of sensory gratification and, just do what feels good to me in the moment. But then you recognize ways that kind of worked against you. It's like you've gained a certain wisdom through that experience. And now you're understanding certain tripping points within yourself, things that were hidden before, blind spots within yourself that you become aware of, that are sort of clearing your vision for how you want to move forward. And what you want to create here. Okay, let's see what we got. So it looks like you're narrowing down your choices to one path of purpose here. You're getting ready to step into your hero's quest for power. Now that you're understanding a bit more about the uses of power and how, yeah, wow, I like that. Okay, yes, yes, wow. Yeah, you're understanding a lot more about the uses of power with the nip slip poke in reverse here. You recognize that when power is used in such a way where it's more for personal gratification, you could have been dealing with a character like this too that you were aligned with, maybe even done in such a way where one felt kind of like in the right here. Maybe you felt very justified. And again, this could be because of somebody that you were aligned with. Maybe somebody you even put on a pedestal. Maybe somebody you felt could do no wrong. You may have felt sort of called to a cause, is what I'm getting here, where you felt like sort of taking up for them, in maybe even a situation where it was a bit an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, or you felt justified taking an action in a particular way or in a particular direction because of the influence of another here, that you gave a little too much authority. And this actually caused a lot of bad blood and a certain peace to elude you. You couldn't really see this though for a while. It took some time. And I do feel like you were in a position here where you felt very divided for a while. There was part of you that felt a certain loyalty, perhaps, to this individual that you put on a pedestal here. And this could be somebody that you invested a lot of time and energy in. Just with this coming through, this could have been a Gemini connected in this situation. In other cases, it could have been a Sagittarius. It also could have been a Pisces. And I say that because we have a big transit going down with Jupiter in Gemini. And so this could have something to do with communication that was received here, that maybe created a false perception, but was sort of blindly believed because of who it was coming from, all right? And Jupiter is the ruler of both Sagittarius and Pisces. So you may have really felt the desire to move toward the new, or to head in a different direction, or to move into this place of expansion, but you felt held back by a blind spot, held back by something that was a bit of a karmic matter, something that had become a bit like a skip in the record. And you really needed to come to a new understanding of it. You needed to get to the roots of it, from sort of gnawing on it a bit. I feel like you had to gnaw on this a bit to really see a way through. And I feel like this is something that's needing to be gained right now. I think that you're really arriving at this place where you recognize something needs to be communicated and a definitive action needs to be taken, because there's no denying. There's no denying that something here is not the way of grace. And that there has been some misuse of power in a situation that does need to be rectified. Ted says yes, in order to restore peace here. Okay, so let's check this out. It could be with a hidden enemy too. It could be somebody, like I said, that you put on a pedestal, and then you got to see a new side, and you recognize that maybe that grudge wasn't quite justified. Maybe you shouldn't have taken up for them. Maybe you shouldn't have taken an action in a certain direction or toward a certain person. because you weren't getting the full lay of the land. You weren't getting the full story here. Yeah, whatever this was, it created an infinite cosmic mess. That's the basis of the matter. And there does need to be a change here. But I also see that there were three that were affected here. Three that were affected here. It's like three timelines colliding, and it's creating an infinite cosmic mess. And why? Because of something that was assumed to not really be anything nefarious, anything that could cause any problems with nobody there, was the actual thing that tricked you into being hung up at the crossroads here. Big hangman energy, Piscean energy. So this is really relating to that 12th house matter. And right there, we got good old Suelu, which is saying you need to focus on where you're heading now. Now that you have this new understanding, instead of staying in the thick of the mess at the crossroads and just sort of sitting in it, there's a need to kind of allow this transformation to be activated, because it's like something you laid to rest out of fear. Out of fear of what was going to come up and out. If I open up this crypt and I actually try to go for this transformation I want to see in my life, I don't know what's going to come up and out. And yet it's going to take on a life of its own. And we see the full moon energy coming in there as well. And this could have something to do with intimate connections, okay, past intimate connections, clandestine connections, okay. But I do see, oh, wow, look at that. Pampas beekeeper, you're bringing it in. Let me get a little sip here. I feel the blocking energy trying to come in here, okay? You see, you felt justified in a certain purpose, taking an action in a certain direction, and it put you in a position that made you vulnerable to the swarm of the bees, all right? And very much like Libra, you're in a position here where it made you docile when you're actually meant to take a very powerful transformational action here that gives you freedom. It's also for you breaking some chains of limitation. So you could be dealing with a Libra here. There could be an interconnection here. You're both needing to break these chains. That's just wild how that came in. But it's really understanding what is this force here that's kept me from really awakening my full empowerment, my full potential here, so I can bring it forward and reclaim this sweetness. See, because you'll use the power wisely. You'll use the power to serve the community. You'll use the power to serve the collective. But there was a misalignment here that caused this power to be hoarded or abused or used in the wrong way in the past. It's like a rectifying moment here by underestimating the power that a certain destructive force held. Like, oh, it's nobody, it's nothing, it's not that big of a deal. It can't blot out the sun. It can't put a target on my sun. Oh, yes, it could. And I do feel like you know what this is because you felt the sting of this. Like you've already dealt with the swarm to a certain extent. But what you're being given here is an opportunity to take action on what you already know to be true. To not sort of sit there and feel sorry for yourself, hung up here at the crossroads, but to use that truth that you've arrived at to enact the transformation. Take the action to cut yourself down from that sort of place of self-reflection and feeling bad about, what happened back there, to actually taking action. And what I love about this is that, the old parts of you go through this transformation, and then you find yourself entering that waterway that leads to the sweetness, that leads to the honey flow with the serpent chimp. Really cool energy. I like how that came in, really building on that message. Pretty wild. So whatever this is for you, Aquarius, this could go back to the time when Libra was in the South Node as well. This could be something uh, that's had you hung up since like 2018. Okay. Interesting. Interesting that 2018 came in, because that's not the time that Libra has been in the South Node. Interesting that wanted to come in. So I find that really, really illuminating. Hmm. Hmm. Actually, since 2022, 2023 is what I meant to say. But 2018 came out for a reason. So we're going to trust it. Sometimes the energy just takes over. It's like, yeah, I know you're going to set it up, but this is what they need to know. Now, that's for somebody there. Okay. It could be a Scorpio involved in your situation. I see a lot of Scorpio references for you here. I also think it's just speaking about that eighth house. You're definitely entering a time of rebirth. I also feel this piece coming in right now, too. That influence that you feel like, oh, that's nobody, that's nothing. They're about to become reanimated as well. So you do need to be aware of that. Okay, let me do a cut of deck here. What do we got for you, Aquarius? Yeah, be aware of what you're loyal to. That you just assume like, oh, it's nothing, it's no big deal. It could be the source of annihilation. So yeah, I do feel like you need to be aware of this, because that's funny how that message came in earlier too with the pie night here. See, you got the whole pie in your hands. You know how to use this power wisely. It's not meant to be hoarded. And look, there's the wings. There's the wings on the helmet. I love it. I love it. Yes, it's about gaining like a higher sense of elevation. And there's the shield activated that preserves the pie in the sky for all of the collective. It's not a pie crust promise. It's not meant to be broken. It's meant to be something that is secured and that only you can bring forward here to ensure that everyone is nourished by this. And if you have doubts, if you're afraid of kind of putting your hat back into the ring of what could be a very messy, complicated situation that may involve the weaving of some complicated fates as well. It could be a situation that involves several people here, and that's what makes it messy. How do I navigate this? How do we get beyond this? If you're feeling concerned about navigating this, you will gain the perspective and the higher consciousness you need in order to really get where you need to go, to this place of alignment. And it feels like for you, it's something that's being restored here in relation to an action that was taken through championing something that wasn't really the underdog in this situation. And that's what brought on this mess, right? It's behind this. Yeah, it's like you traded in that cosmic pie in the sky for some half-price hot wings here. It's all about ditching the sides to get to the main course here. And the main course is what's going to be the greatest nourishment for all. And there's something here where you're getting a different perspective about the way to move in a complicated situation. And it will be the thing that secures your freedom and allows you to focus on this happiness that's ready to come into your life. But there is something that needs to be dismantled here. And I do get that the process is a little exposing. It may make you subject to some judgment from those you were previously aligned with, but you've recognized you can't be loyal to this anymore because something that has been seen can't be unseen and cannot continue to be aligned with in good faith. All right, that's what I got. All right, interesting elements in play. Interesting elements in play for all of you. It's an interesting time. There will be more that expands off of this. This is just the initial download. All right. Of course, I'm going to be bringing in water elemental too. We'll bring in water elemental tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. And we'll see how that informs things because, the waterway and now we got the honey flow kind of in tandem here. We had that message about the air and water elementals. So let's see how this synergy comes into play tomorrow. Should be interesting to see. Stay tuned and attuned.